Hello and welcome to Restaurant Review. I'm Bob Bockelman here with you every week, bringing you what we feel are New Orleans' greatest new restaurants and chefs, and try to tie them together with new musicians for you. As you know, post-Katrina, we've had a little trouble getting musicians in the door, so unfortunately we had to dig back in our archive today and pull out something that's been on that'll be quite entertaining, but not as fresh as the restaurant. We've got a great new restaurant. There's been a resurgence post-Katrina in Italian restaurants. There's been at least 4 that have opened post-Katrina out of about the 20 some odd that I'm recording. So this is really good. It's one of my favorite, of course, cuisines, and we're real pleased today when we bring to you the new one and the chef, and we're going to tell you all about that in a little bit. We also will do some programming information about our website and some great news about that with regard to how now in the very near future the show will be accessible beyond New Orleans. You can see a past show at any time, so it's going to be a great advance for those in the outlying parishes and for people who live anywhere around the country. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to go ahead and delve into the archives, and we gave our director a choice of several musicians, and so what we're going to do is be a big surprise for all of us. We're going to go ahead and see who he's chosen, and let's take a look and see what he's got right for us now.
Please don't look so cold. You're far too young to be looking so old. Just let those corners of your mouth unfold and smile for me. Well, your smile's the prettiest I've ever seen, and it makes me richer than most any queen. It's like warm hot chocolate after playing in the snow, or those real crisp nights when the moon and stars glow. So smile for me, and just smile, and just smile, and just smile. Surely is hard, but don't be tough, please let down your guard, cause if you don't smile, well, nobody will, and this whole wide world will be looking mean still. I know this world seems an awful place at times, but don't hide your lovely face. It's a crime, just let it out and let it shine, and if you do, well, I'll show you mine. So let's smile together, let's smile, no matter what the weather brings. If it's cold or it's hot, if it's warm or it's hot, if it's dry or it's wet, please don't forget to smile for me. And just smile, and just smile, and just smile, and just smile all the while for me. And just smile for me. And just smile, and just smile, and just smile, and just smile all the while for me. One little thing almost slipped my mind when it seems like life ain't treating you kind. Just look my way and you'll surely find a smile for you most anytime, cause I want to see you, and I sure want to feel you, and I want to know most all the time that you smile for me.
Very, very nice. Gee whiz. Thank you, Mr. Director. That was quite enjoyable. Okay, again, we apologize for not having live artists, but we want you to help us out by trying to find them. We're looking hard for them to get them on here so we can make our whole show live again. Okay, well, let's go to the meat of the subject, as we say, the meat of the matter. And as I mentioned earlier in the intro, we have a wonderful new Italian bistro or restaurant, depending on how you want to call it, And it's on the Avenue, of course, right away. That's got some prestige with it. And the name of it is Mr. John's Ristorante. And we're pleased to have the executive chef today, Christian Rossi. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
We really appreciate you coming. We had scheduled a little earlier for Christian's visit, but unfortunately he had some health problems in his family, and so we had to reschedule. But we're glad he made it this time, and we know you're going to also be glad. So let's talk a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit how you got in cooking, and obviously your accent's not from New Orleans, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was born and raised in Italy. I'm from Venice, and I attended culinary school in Venice. And I did a few internships in Bibione, which is near the Adriatic Sea. And then I did another internship in Courmayeur, which is the corner between French and Italy. After that, to family friend, they kind of pushed me and said, why don't you go, United States, abroad, your experience, learn new languages. And so I did that. I spent a brief time in New York, and then I got connected with the Western Hotel in Cincinnati Hotel, which I spent 6 years there, and it was quite an experience. Then from there, somebody called me here, which was the chef La Riviera in Metairie, and said, through another friend who knew me so far, he said, why don't you come over here in New Orleans, great city, the closest you will get to Europe, which I totally agree with that. And well, you get the chance to make pasta from scratch, stuff you do in Italy, which in the hotel business you don't do that as much as you used to. So I did that. We're there for about a year and a half. Enjoyed. It was great. I got very lucky because as soon as I got here, I was invited to do the chef charity.
Yes.
With Admiral, Gunther Proud. So it was very good, and they treat me very well. And this different opinion with the restaurant. You wanted to stay on the old traditional Italian. I wanted to move on. I got in connection with Mr. John Santopare, which is the owner and the founder of the restaurant, and I've been working there for about 3 years.
Wow.
Primarily it was a steakhouse prior to the hurricane, and then after the hurricane we sat down and talked, and I convinced him, he's being from Italy as well, to do northern Italian cuisine, which is what I know the best, and this is how we came about.
Yeah, in fact, I met Christian through another chef who told me about maybe almost 2 years ago.
Correct.
I forget how long it's been. And we spoke, and at that time, it was Mr. John's Steakhouse, I believe. Yeah, I think it was called, which is nothing wrong with a steakhouse. And in fact, today, they still do surf and turf, a lot of steaks, lobsters and stuff as well. But, and I told him when we spoke to him at that time, we're really looking for a little more variety. Not that not that your food is not good, but I really hope one day you can get into something where you can show your true expanse of your Italian ethnic cooking. And sure enough, as he mentioned, speaking with his boss post-Katrina, it's been a rebirth. Name has changed to Mr. John's Ristorante, and now the full scale of his ethnic Italian cooking there for you to try, along with the other traditional things that they serve for a couple of years. So even though the restaurant's older than we normally put on, whenever an established restaurant does a major wholesale, either menu change, chef change, then that qualifies, as you know, all know who follow the show, to be on our show. And we've been so anxious to have Christian on, we couldn't wait for that opportunity for him to do that. And I'm telling you folks, it is really a pleasure to bring him today, and we're going to see that in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more particulars about the restaurant, as we said. For those who don't know where it is on the Avenue, it's directly across from the Pontchartrain Hotel on the other side, diagonal from the Eiffel Tower, or Tour Eiffel, or whatever it's called now. It's been so many names. In the Avenue Plaza Hotel. Now, the Avenue Plaza Hotel has not come back yet, to my knowledge.
Correct.
They opened up much earlier, running a fabulous restaurant without really the hotel to somewhat support it, which is amazing. So they're doing really good. You're going to love the look of the restaurant. We're going to have some pictures. Very New Orleans. I love the typical little tile floors that are so New Orleans. On the corner with windows running around both sides of the banquette. You know how we love to look out and see that traffic. Done a real intimate style, some bromeliads in flower boxes, really quaint. But then sort of the dark woods as you first come in, which was kind of reminiscent of the Steakhouse and tradition. Beautiful place. Tell us a little bit more about how large it is, what time you're operating now and stuff, please.
Well, the location, first of all, is 2111 St. Charles, like you mentioned. As well as you mentioned, we were open breakfast, lunch, and dinner prior to the hurricane, with the hotel being open. Now the hotel is not open. So that it's a little lack of business for us as far as lunch and breakfast. And then the street cards are not functioning yet, which will be November 1st when they function. So right now for lunch we only open Thursday and Friday 11 to 3, and then for dinner we open Tuesday through Thursday 5 to 9, and Friday and Saturday 5 to 10. These are the hour operation.
Okay, let's go over that again, since it's not a full scale. Again, you're doing predominantly dinner.
Predominantly dinner.
Tuesday through Saturday night.
Correct.
Closed dark on
closed Sunday and Monday.
Okay.
Yes.
And then luncheon on Thursday and Friday?
Thursday and Friday, 11 to 3.
Okay, 11 to 3. And you shut down and reopen at what time is the evening? 5 or 5?
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
Okay, so you got that, folks. I would hardly recommend a reservation. It's not required, but because of the size of it and the popularity of it, especially if you're coming on a weekend, I would give them a call. It's no problem. And it's very easy to get in, and wonderful staff. He's got a very hospitable staff. So whatever you do, you got to give them a try. Anything else you want to say about how many did you say? How many seats?
The seats about overall. We have the main dining room. It's about 65 to 70 seats. Then we have what we call the wood room, which prior, even now, we put smoking people that smoke.
Well,
there.
that's only a few more months.
A few more months left until January 1st. Correct. Which I actually do like the wood room because the decor is it's a wood that the owner got from a castle in France that got turned down.
Well, it definitely, I was going to say that whoever did I don't know how long that wood paneling and all is there, but it looks antique. Unfortunately, we don't have pictures of that entry room. It is the entrance, but it is where the bar ended, but it is all paneled in the dark woods. Beautiful, and like I say, very too much looking like a steakhouse. And that's how you enter, and then you go into the much brighter, large dining room. So how many do you see? I know it's not that many tables in the wood room.
In the wood room, no. So overall in the dining room, I say about 65, 70 people comfortable.
Well, so again, that's a lovely size, very intimate, nothing too big to be uncomfortable for you, but that's why I'm saying make sure you try and get there. Okay, now let's, what we're going to do is, as we always do, let's go ahead and start taking some pictures. We've got a couple of lanyard pictures, which we really didn't record. Normally, you know, we go through maybe 3 out of each category, but a couple of extra appetizers that Chef had made for us, especially when we came on a couple of visits. So we'll go over those. They may or may not be on the menu, so forgive us for that. But everything in the normal pictures are on the menu there waiting for you to try. So let's take a look at our first appetizer, and I believe it's the fried green tomatoes. Now, you know, this doesn't sound like an Italian dish. This is New Orleans or Louisiana is famous. The movie made it famous. A wonderful tradition here in the city. But Chef Christian has really added his own style to bring it to that Italian flavor. Tell us a little bit about how you present this dish.
Well, before going to what you just said about this is not really Italian, you're exactly right. I put this item back to the menu. It wasn't a menu prior to the hurricane, particularly on request from the customer.
Customers matter at this restaurant.
The customer matter. We have customers that call me and I want dock this particular night, and I will do it. To me, the best thing about my job really is like, this is the menu. I'm the chef. You're gonna eat this. You're gonna pay. You get out. I totally don't agree with that. I mean, like the way I do is the way I do it.
I got it.
I would like to have an input, but the fried green tomato is a simple dish. We batter the tomato first of all in a milk and egg batter, cornmeal, lightly fried peanut oil, and then have a mixture of green as you see, and then it's jumbo lamb crab meat. Beautiful fresh, obviously, and it's drizzled with a simple remoulade, which I call a white remoulade.
Right. Excellent, folks. I mean, like I say, it's something you wouldn't think is in an Italian restaurant, but it fits perfect. It's almost like fried eggplant. I mean, it's it's a fried green tomatoes with just a great refreshing remoulade on it. So again, if you like it, try it. But he's got about 8 appetizers besides throwing in some specials of the day with regard to appetizers. So it's constantly varying. But let's take a look at one of the other ones. I'm thinking we've got I don't know if it's this is just beautiful. This is your carpaccio, is that right?
Correct, carpaccio.
Carpaccio, for those people who don't know what it is and don't get turned off or scared, is the same thing sushi is with regard to, not sushi, but really sashimi, which is really rare beef instead of fish. This is usually paper thin sliced, so there's really it's not you're going to be choking on a piece of raw meat. It's nothing like this. It's so delicate and so fine. Been known for years. There's a few other Italian restaurants in our city here that do carry this, but not a lot. So let's talk about it. The presentation is just magnificent. The flavor, if you really have the taste, if you can try it, if you're adventurous, you're going to swear by it. So let's talk a little bit more about the presentation.
Well, like I said, carpaccio is one of those items that either you like or you don't like.
Right.
I mean, like you say, it's raw meat, but there's two different ways to do it. One is strictly, what carpaccio really supposed to be made of is the center of a filet, a tender.
Filet, that's the
and
best
that's
part.
what you make it, and you slice it real thin. The way I do it, I take a little step farther. I get the center cut of the filet, and I do a mixture of herbs, which have sage, basil, rosemary, kosher salt, and black pepper, and I sear the outside to give it an extra flavor. Slice real thin. Arugula, which is it's a mixture of green, grow wild.
Wow, but it's so good. It's so good.
And then it's simple. You drizzle extra virgin olive oil, a little lemon juice, a little balsamic vinegar, and a shaved Parmigiano Reggiano imported. Obviously, you got to have that on top of it. It's very light. It doesn't. You don't even feel it when you eat it. And I think it's a very great item, and I enjoy it.
Definitely. And I know you folks out there who watch the Food and TV Network, you know what Parmigiano Reggiano is. That is, every chef has to talk about that great Parmigiano Reggiano. So I'm telling you, it is fabulous and excellent in this particular appetizer. So go ahead and try it, and I'm sure if you don't care for it or you're too queasy, someone at the table is going to fall in love with it because it is so light and airy. You really doing yourself a disservice by not giving it a try. Excellent, excellent beginning. And now one that really, if it's in the right order, really a great one, which is so perfect for true Italian restaurants. It used to be at every Italian restaurant, but now it's come back in. That's the really antipasto plate. Let's talk about, look how pretty this is, folks. Let's talk about this particular dish, please.
Well, antipasto plate, that's funny you said that. A lot of people have the perception of you're looking at deli meat. This is not deli. This is not bologna.
Deli meat.
This is not ham.
There's no bologna.
No, there's no bologna. No, this is imported meat, which is cured prosciutto crudo, which is the leg of the pig, if you will say, and it's cured with kosher salt for a couple of months. So this is very delicate meat. It's going along with cheeses from Italy. We have Fontina, we have Reggiano, we have, hold on here a second. We have Gorgonzola Dolce, we have Provolone, along with other relishes.
Yeah. Well, and even though a lot of us are maybe ignorant about and make that silly comment, but I think New Orleans has a little bit of a taste for that, even not from the Italians, and morely from the muffaletta that we kind of we lay claim to inventing, because once again, a true muffaletta, if you're getting it from Central Grocery or one of the places that really is based on the same concept with regard to tasting. That's not your normal ham you get at the deli store. It's they have mortadello, they have prosciutto. You're talking about the sausage and hams that are truly from Italy, that are totally different tasting. They might look somewhat familiar, but when you compare one to another, we're talking about a world of difference in taste. And again, taking your finest cheeses, not just Swiss or American or cheddar, taking your finest cheeses, mixing those, and then putting some marinated olives or vegetables and all with it. It truly is a wonderful dish. I mean, that with your typical bread and olive oil, I mean, usually it's a meal in itself. So this is something that one person doesn't want to eat unless they're really going to make an entree. This is a perfect appetizer for the entire table to share. Now, as you know, I always say one of the key things to a fine New Orleans restaurant is bread. New Orleans breads are, to me, some of the best in the world. And some restaurants don't even serve bread. And to me, it's an indicator because they're afraid you're going to fill up on the bread and not eat their entree. Well, I say, too bad. I say the most important thing is if you've got a good bread, it's going to be an indicator that the food to come is dynamite. He does a wonderful sauce here with regard to, and we'll let him tell about his olive loaf with a tremendous sun-dried tomato olive dip. Talk about that. We don't have pictures of it, but this is just your accompaniment to coming to the table when you first sit down.
Well, the bread is what's called a ciabatta bread, which is in Italian actually means flat bread. Mm-hmm. It's a very what do you call that? There's a lot of name in English. I don't
Right.
know. But anyway, it have Kalamata olives inside of this bread.
Calamatas, which are the finest olives you can get, really.
Right.
Go ahead.
And then the dipping oil, what it is, I do an infused oil, which is extra virgin olive oil in a low temperature in the stove, and you put sage, rosemary, sun-dried tomatoes, garlic, and you cook that to a 220, because above that you will burn the olive oil and that will taste bitter.
Tastes bitter.
After that, you cool it down, you strain it, and that will be your dipping oil with the bread.
I'm telling you, folks, again, you know, you can just get hooked on this, and it's so good. But you've got to try at least one slice of the basket that comes to you, because it shows you really the quality we're talking about in every course here. It's not just relegated to the entrees. Okay, I'm glad he told us about that, because I should have taken a picture and we didn't. That's my neglect. Okay, let's move on. Next thing are soups and salad. Now, I'm telling you, folks, there are certain dishes that I crave beyond anything, and have grown up with them, and either in family homes or restaurants that have fallen by the wayside, because some of it is becoming disdained. What we call peasant food. There's a lot of Italian food that is good, homemade peasant food. These are farmers who would come home, didn't have a lot of money, would make this food. And years ago, it was a staple, just like red beans and rice is a staple to us. Well, these dishes were a staple to the family. Of course, when it started getting trendy and eating out in the 70s, 80s, 90s, as it got trendier and trendier, you know, these dishes were pushed aside. They used to be standard in restaurants. Well, slowly but surely, there's been a resurgence back to take some of these quote-unquote peasant foods and introduce them to some of the slickest cuisine you've seen. So we're really glad to see it come back in its true ethnic, and one of the things is the soup. Pasta fagioli. Look at that beautiful Italian language Bob can use. Pasta fagioli is a white bean soup that is so superb here. And again, it used to be at little mom and pop shops. I can tell you, little small Italian restaurants that I grew up, every restaurant served it. It was a basic soup that Italians eat. Today, it's at very few. Let's take a look, and please, Chef, tell us about your pasta fagioli.
Pasta fagioli, like you said, is number one, is very traditional northern Italian soup, and it's white beans, which are called cannellini beans. I guess the closest thing I can say to those beans are like navy beans.
Yeah, let's say cannellini, or like what we call navy.
Navy beans,
good.
right?
Okay,
and,
great.
it's you do that, and then it's a mirepoix, which is celery, carrots, and onion, and then prosciutto cotto, which is
tell us about that.
cook. It's like the ham you get here, the pit ham. The good
yeah,
ham.
right.
It just is from Italy. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, the ham is here is good as well. But if I want to do an Italian recipe, I have to use what I know to use with it. And it's cooking slowly, obviously 4 or 5 hours till the beans are nice and tender.
Of course.
And have Italian herbs in there, some plum tomatoes.
Right.
And when that's done, you top it off with ditalini pasta. That's what's called pasta e fagioli, which is a small little tubular pasta, like an albo macaroni you will call.
Right.
And at the end, like all Italian put in everything, really, Parmigiano Reggiano, which should bring everything.
And then
up.
Decorated, of course, with fresh basil.
Fresh basil, yes.
And I'm telling you, folks, one of the things I learned early on, and I keep trying to convince people of this, is that many times what we consider Americans as decorations are some of the most edible and delicious things that you don't try. First thing I see people do is scoop it up, like if it's parsley or something, scoop it up and throw it on the side. You don't know. To take a slice of this, just one of the pieces of the basil leaf, and eat it, whether you eat it in conjunction with the soup or not, just brings a whole new world of flavors. It's not there just to add magnificent color. So if more of us would try some of the parsleys that are so not only tasty but good for you, you don't know, and we're not a healthy show per se, but I can tell you about how wonderful some of these things are. So give it a chance. Just because it's there for decoration, it doesn't prohibit you from take. Some of the best decorations are edible flowers. I know I'm taking you way out of pace today, but I'm saying you saw the gorgeous fresh basil. To take a piece of that with a spoon of this, heaven sent. Now, 2 more soups that he had. We only have one picture of it, and that is the traditional minestrone. But I'm going to tell you, folks, for people who have had minestrone, I've had minestrone that has been awful in the city. One of the key things is that most of them are tomato broths, and there's nothing wrong with the tomato broth. So don't the other soup. The thing here is this is, to me, what really it should be without the tomato broth. There's some good ones, but this is perfection. So tell us about, please, your soup here, your minestrone, which is basically a vegetable soup.
Basically, it's a vegetable soup, and when we use vegetable for other purposes during the kitchen, we use the leftover, the head, whatever. That's how you make a vegetable stock. That will be your base of the soup. Now, inside the soup, we will have carrots, we will have zucchini, we will have yellow squash, we will have potatoes. We also have a few cannellini beans. It is all the earth vegetable you will have around your garden in Italy when the traditional soup was made. And this also have a little bit of ditalini pasta, and I usually that for texture.
Right.
Now, what gives the pasta the body they have is something that I use, which is a butternut squash puree. That's what gives it a little trick. I don't use the tomato broth, but I use the butternut squash puree.
Fabulous.
Give it a body and make it a little sweeter as well.
One of my favorite French soups here in the city, especially, is there's a restaurant called Martinique Bistro.
Martinique,
I've been for years. And now the original chef doesn't own it anymore. He moved on, but sold it, and they perpetuated it. And it is that particular squash souffle, squash bisque.
Squash bisque.
Absolutely superb. So now all of a sudden it hit me. That is the taste. I couldn't identify when I was, but I'm telling you folks, this soup is so hearty. I mean, it's almost like it weighs you down getting a spoonful, because it's almost like hearty man's soup or whatever they call that stuff. This stuff is so bulky. It is so fabulous. Now, I eat hot soups all year round. I eat cold soups and hot soups. One of the few things I've told people that has become a positive thing from my marriage was learning how to eat soup. Now I crave it with every meal. But now some people say, no, they can't eat hot soups during the summer. Well, come back in the wintertime, and I'm telling you, you're going to be sold on these soups. There's one other that we don't have a picture. We're not going to talk about it unless we have time. He does a tortellini and a chicken broth. To date, I haven't gotten beyond these two to even try his third soup, and I feel bad about it. But the same thing with his menu. I keep going back and trying to always add at least one new thing when I try it, so I can get beyond the menu, what I love so much, and also try some of his food. Now let's take a look at salads. He's got about 3 or 4. Most of them, of course, are dinner salads, but one of them, the traditional Caesar, you can dress it up and make an entree of it. I think that's the one we're showing is the Caesar salad. Is that right? Let's see if we can take a look at that salad. Yeah, yeah. Again, very authentic. And the only better traditional salad I've had from Caesar is when someone is sitting there at your table, cracks open the raw eggs, puts all in, whips it in, and that's the only other one I've had. Let's talk about yours, please.
Well, yeah, it's traditional Caesar. Obviously, we use a combination of regular romaine lettuce and Arthur romaine, which is a baby romaine.
Baby romaine.
To give it a little more crispness to it. The croutons are made with the same ciabatta bread that we were talking before, but we eliminate the olives. Obviously, we pick the olives out, and we make the dressing, which is like Bob said, it's traditional eggs, anchovies, and all that. But we do to the eggs at this particular moment for people that like you cannot eat raw eggs, this and that. We slightly poach them. So by doing that, it's like you're pasteurizing them. So when people ask, "Oh, do you have raw product?" and that, yes, we do, but we slightly pasteurize. So we'll take the worry about getting any kind of
Right, I understand. They understand.
They understand.
The other salad we're picturing of the 4 is, to me, the epitome of Italian salads. I mean, there's Italian salads with all the meats and all, which is good. But to me, the pure, pristine, classic tomato and mozzarella cheese, and especially if we use our lovely New Orleans Creole tomato, Louisiana Creole. Talk about this salad. I mean, it is the basic, but to me, one of the truest Italian salads, and taste here is just superb. Let's take a look at this one, please, and tell us about it, Chef.
Well, that's the, I'm sure you're probably to show the caprese. Right, the caprese, right. And
give it its proper title.
Well, caprese comes from the word Capri, which is a little island off the west coast of Italy. And we're using Creole tomatoes from here, which is very good, very sweet. We're very lucky to have mozzarella that we get from Norgia, which import most of my stuff from Italy, very fresh. Once again, this is drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, aged balsamic vinegar.
Yeah, balsamic.
Right, and a basil garlic puree that we spread on top of it before it goes out. And it's very light, once again, simple, nothing to it really. People enjoy it.
It's not necessarily very light. I mean, it looks very light, but it's got some weight to it. But taste and flavor, superb. For only basically 2 ingredients, not all the lettuce, just 2 ingredients. Classic, truly excellent. Now again, I haven't tasted anything but those 2 salads, so I can't tell you about the other 2. And if we have time, we'll come back. But we need to move along because this menu is really comprehensive, and we're trying to give you the best presentation to you all here because it's really going to hopefully make your mouth water. Now, he's got the entrees broken up into 3 simple categories: seafood, meats, and pastas. And remember, I told you there are some, even though we won't talk, we're not going to be we're emphasizing the real Italian heritage today. But there are some magnificent steaks, whether it's all different sizes and shapes. There's I don't know if it's standardly they have a lobster, but they'll do a serving to really class. So if you're not an Italian, you're a steak person, you can come in, you can be just as satisfied as going to one of the finest steakhouses, because originally it was. So you still have that in abeyance. But to go here and not to try the Italian, as far as I'm concerned, is a sin, because this is what the glorification is. So let's take a look. The first one we chose is from the seafood category, and I believe is it the vongole or the no? It's the shrimp scampi, huh?
No, this is actually from the appetizer.
Oh, from the appetizer. Ah, okay. Remember, folks, we told you we had a couple of other appetizers. Go ahead and leave it on, please, so they can see, because tell us about this appetizer, please.
Well, this is Louisiana shrimp, U12, which is 12 per pound, so they're about 1.5 ounces, a little over an ounce and a half. Huge shrimp.
Almost like prawns. I told them I thought it was prawns. It was so big.
Right. And the scampi, what I do, I initially saute the scampi, a little olive oil, a little garlic, and then we finish it in the oven with a little bit of clam stock, which really give good thing to this particular dish, and going along with other herbs. And this is number 2 seller in the restaurant as far as appetizers.
Don't they also have this as an entree?
No.
No?
What you might ever see is a lot of people request this as an entree over pasta.
Over pasta,
We do that a lot as well. Yeah. It's not on the menu for whatever reason, but to me, what the waiters and the manager know, if we got it, you can have it. So any way you want it.
Well, I think people, again, it's carryover. Most other restaurants, shrimp scampi is over pasta.
Correct.
But again, you're not even talking about a totally different scale. Usually, so many of those do almost an Alfredo, heavy Alfredo sauce, and a few little shrimp. The shrimp are so large, they're a meal in themselves. That's why he's not necessarily serving it over. But as he said, if you want it with pasta,
right.
if you want it to, he's going to give it to you. But the prawns or the size of the shrimp are going to be so overwhelming to you that they really, it's a huge order. So let's move on, and let's see. I think what we're going to do now is, I call it cioppino, which is the wrong name, or bouillabaisse, Italian bouillabaisse. But this is really a red snapper that is a soup, but it's an entree soup, and let's see if we can tell us more about it.
Right. This is, well, cioppino is a little different version. It's the same base, like bouillabaisse, all that. This is a red snapper from the Gulf, which you can only get the first 2 weeks of August. And I'm not afraid to say if I don't have it, I don't have it. And it's braised, and it comes with shrimp, clam, and mussel. And it's braised in a broth. It's tomato saffron, which is a fish stock, adding saffron and tomato, and you reduce that, and that's how you braise the fish. Is another good seller when it comes to seafood.
Yeah, it is. Again, when you get a bouillabaisse, it's much lighter. It's
Very
much
light.
more like the soup.
Correct.
This is much heavier. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean in a filling sense that's the difference. But when you first look and see the ingredients, it's the same ingredients, meaning a mixture of seafood done in a soup kind of stock and base, but really, really tremendous. So if you're a fan of bouillabaisse or something like that, try it, folks. You will love it. In fact, the bouillabaisse at Galatoire's is not just like this, but it's so heavy, it's almost like an Italian, what you're showing here. All right, now let's take another one, which is one of my favorite seafoods, and that's what we call vongole, or clam. Let's see if we take a look and see if we have the vongole. Look how beautiful this is, folks, and tell us how magnificent it is.
This is spaghetti alle vongole, and I know I cannot go wrong with this. This is straight from where I'm from, which is Venice, and it's clams. These particular clams are Manila clams, and they're very fresh, and the spaghetti they're tossed in extra virgin olive oil, a little white wine, a little garlic, and as you see,
yeah, fantastically light, beautifully presented, and I'm telling you, folks, really tasty. So if you've tried it, and you haven't tried it, this is one to try it because, again, it's a light. If you're not, in the summer, if you're not one that likes the heavy sauces, this is where to go. Go to your light sauce. The wonderful clams, excellent. Now, the next one is another one that, again, there were only like 3 restaurants for years that did it. Both those restaurants are gone. A few of them are trying it, but only as special. He has reintroduced it as a staple, and to me, it is superb. Again, it's considered peasant food, but it's gnocchi. And gnocchi is a potato dumpling. As soon as people hear the translation, oh, that's awful. I'm telling you, folks, it is superb. It's like, now if we called it ravioli, oh, it'd be wonderful. Right. And ravioli can be stuffed with cheese or potatoes. So it's a type of pasta shell almost stuffed with the potato. But what's key here are there 3 different sauces. He's doing one. He tried a new one the other night for me. Superb. And when those blend together, you've got, once again, paradise. Let's talk about the standard gnocchi that he has on the menu, the bolognese, huh?
The standard gnocchis are with bolognese sauce, which is a mixture of 3 different meats, veal, pork, and beef. And I also have the addition of Italian sausage sliced on top of it. So meat sauce with a tomato base. Like you said, gnocchi is described as potato dumpling. Can be, like people are like, oh, what is that? But trust me, it's very filling, very heavy item, but you have to try it. And I also serve a lot of those as appetizer upon request.
Excellent. And that is, is that the one also with Italian sausage?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what's so amazing about it, folks. It's not just the meat sauce. It's also got the Italian sausage. So this is really, I'm telling you, when I leave here, I can't go beyond this. This is so heavy. I mean, it really is a filling. So tell them definitely try it. Okay, now we're going to move on a little bit because we want to see that musician again for you folks. But let's go on to, so we've gone through the seafood and the pasta, and now we want to take a look at the meats. And again, there's some steaks on here, but we have 2 that are superb, a real Italian, and that is the veal penne. And let's take a look. And I'm talking about, this is so light. This is the batter, I believe, is it panko?
Panko, correct.
Again, for people who don't know what that is, the Japanese have brought in a batter a few years ago that is so light and crusty. It's unbelievable. It's not heavy at all. All of a sudden, again, trendy. It became very important with fusion food and with trendy foods back in the 90s and today. But once you try it, you're going to see how delicious it is because it is so light, it's not heavy. Tell us about this magnificent dish,
Like
please.
you said, panko is a Chinese breadcrumb, which is made, it's very light. The veal is a baby white veal.
Baby, can't beat it.
Pound the hell out of it until it gets really, really thin. That's what you want.
Super paper thin.
What you want. In this particular dish, we serve it with roasted red skin potatoes, Italian herbs with that, and white asparagus, which is, I'm very proud to use that. Not a lot of people use that. The toppings you see is jumbo lamb crab meat and a white wine butter sauce.
Magnificent. This is so good, folks. I mean, like I said, I can't rave enough about it because and again, this is not a red sauce or sauce, so this is totally different, but it shows you what variety here. And the next one, again, there's only a couple of Italian restaurants that do this here in the city. One is even outside the city. And that is a mixed grill. This used to be famous in the New Orleans and the Royal Orleans, but not in Italian mode. This is tremendous done in an Italian festival. So let's talk about your mixed grill dish,
Mixed
please.
grill, we have lobster in the menu all the time. We just discontinued. We used to have lobster night on Wednesday night. Tonight probably will be the last night we do that. And it consists of a petite filet, 4-ounce prime beef filet, Italian sausage, a couple of shrimp from the shrimp scampi dish you saw before, and an alpha main lobster tail. It's served with 2 sides of your choice.
Excellent. Really excellent. This is, like I said, for people who are not used to Italian, who like the meats, and especially grilled meats, this is right up the alley, and at the same time still preserving the Italian roots. So this would be a great way to introduce them to that without going into the pastas or the big heavy spaghetti sauces, etc. Now he's got 9 other dishes in the meat category standing on the menu. He's got 6 other pasta dishes and about 4 other of the seafood dishes that we haven't addressed, or nor do we have pictures. If when we're coming back, because we're coming up on time for our musician, so if when we come back, and we go to our dessert. We have time for you folks. We will try and touch base on some of those other entrees we don't have picture, but we really are moving today, and we're really giving, I think, excellent descriptions of the picture. So if we have time, we'll see you then and talk about it. Definitely we'll go over desserts. So let's take a listen and look at our musician, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Okay, when you tell me everything will be okay. I love you like a brand new journal, when I haven't even written on a page. And all my life seems ahead of me, and nothing's in my way, and nothing's in my way. Your love is like the morning dew, so sure that I forget to see it there. I want to walk across you barefoot and soak up everything that I find there, and soak up everything that I find there. I love you like the last page of a storybook, the last thing that a writer wants to say. And I love you like a fountain coke, when it's hot and I've been driving a long way. When it's hot and I've been driving a long way. I love you like the last page of a storybook, the final thing that a writer hopes to say. And I love you like a cherry coke, when it's hot and I've been driving a long way. When it's hot and I've been driving a long way.
Welcome back, musician. We're here today with Chef Christian Rossi, the executive chef of Mr. John's Ristorante on the Avenue St. Charles. We said right across from the Pontchartrain and the Eiffel Tower. A fantastic new Italian bistro or restaurant that is really driving people crazy. Once you taste it, you are a devotee. We hope that you've seen so far, but what we've given you whet your appetite. We hope you will try it, and I know you will be satisfied if you do. So let's go ahead and round it off. We're going to take a look at a few of the desserts, talk a little bit about beverages and events. I guess I don't think we're going to have time to go back and rehash a lot of the extra, and I apologize, but this is just a very comprehensive menu. But we wanted to pick you a nice variety from each category, especially things that you're not going to get anywhere else or very few other places. So that makes it even much more appetizing for you. Okay, let's take a look at our desserts, and we've got three spectacular. One is my favorite, but three spectacular. I believe the first one is an amaretto type situation. Let's see, is that right? What do we call that?
That's amaretto mousse, we call it, which is
mousse.
Vanilla-based mousse, white chocolate vanilla-based mousse The name amaretto comes for two reasons. One, because we put amaretto
Almond
liqueur in the mousse.
Right. So,
And also the amaretto cookie, which is pretty hard to find.
right, but it's basically a liqueur made from almonds and
Correct.
something else. I don't know what is the other thing. But anyway, almond is the traditional flavor.
Right.
Beautifully presented in a Sunday glass there with some other situation. Very nice if you like that. I have no problem with it. We're going to go next to a real traditional Italian dessert that maybe back in the 70s or 80s wasn't even heard of here in the United States. Then all of a sudden the coffee shops came around, and that became a staple of the coffee shop instead of the true heritage based on coffee from the Italian restaurant. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking about the basic tiramisu, or pick me up, lift me up, whatever you want to call it. Beautiful traditional presentation here. Tell us about it, please, chef.
A lot of compliment about this to the restaurant, and the reason why I think that, because I tweaked the recipe a little bit by adding a little whipped cream in the folding, make it lighter.
Lighter.
But like you said, it's traditional. It's lady finger, which is Italian cookies, and it's deep in espresso coffee. That's what the tiramisu term comes
that's
from.
That's the pick me up way they
Exactly, the coffee. And then I put a little frangelica there, a little amaretto. Always have to have booze in every liquor, every dessert I do. But people like it. It's light.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's great. Really great. So, folks, if you're a tiramisu fan, try it. Again, decorated beautifully. Okay, now, last but not least, I'm telling you, this is New Orleans. You can't get this anyplace. You know you got this as a staple. You used to be able to run anywhere in the city and get a cannoli, especially at Mercados or the restaurants. He does a chocolate cannoli, or a pair of them, to die for. Let's take a look at this, folks. This alone ought to get you there for dessert, if nothing else. Stop in there and have a nice glass of port or something like that, or something with this, and try that. A pair of chocolate cannolis to die. It is so authentic, down to what I call the citron fruit. No, please tell us about your cannolis. Just superb.
Chocolate cannoli, for people not familiar with the actual cannoli term, what it is it's like a waffle batter, which is rolled, tubed, right, and deep fried and then cooled down. The filling is a simple chocolate whipped cream, if you want to call it that. And then it's topped with candied fruit, which I think the chocolate and the candied fruit is where I give it a nice touch, and some painting of chocolate, vanilla, and caramel.
Superb. Like I say, folks, I don't know where else you can get that in the city today. Mercados, when they were in full operation, had them at their stores, also in the grocery stores. I don't think you can find them anywhere. I don't know any restaurant you can find them right now. So if there's something to challenge, if you want something for it, tell me where else what other restaurant you can get it. But if not, certainly go there for no other reason, and it would be silly. But there's no reason why you can't stop in after dinner, something like that, if they're still open, depending on how late you are, after a movie or someplace like that, just for dessert. And try this is well worth it. And all of them are good, but this is superior. And because we don't know how long we'll get cannolis on any kind of regular basis again, this is the place to go. But be careful, because, again, he only makes so many a day, and they're gone. Okay, now let's talk about, we got a magnificent bar. As we said, in the first dining room, the wood room as you first come in, beautiful wood-paneled bar that a lot of customers will wait for a table or just go there to drink. But the most important thing, of course, is to satisfy you. So there's a full line of beverages, got great bartenders, make any drink you want, the latest trendy thing. But more importantly, we focus, not that there's nothing wrong with a good cocktail, but we focus on the wines that supplement the meals, not take advantage of the meal. And tell us what you consider your wine philosophy at Mr.
Wine
John.
philosophy, first of all, one thing I think we do, and a lot of people do, we mark our wine up once, which that way make it more affordable. I think the most expensive bottle of wine we have is $96. It's primarily 70% Italian. We have our Sangiovese grape, our Super Toscan, and the manager, Neil Killer, does a pretty good job matching those wine with the food I prepare.
The thing I think is great, as you mentioned, I think I caught from you, is that 70%, that's quite a percentage of your wines, are dedicated to the Italian origin.
Right.
So that, folks, how more authentic can you be? You have that, especially in today's world where, some of the other wines are much more popular, especially Napa Valley, everybody. But you do say you had, about 15%
Yes,
Napa Valley?
Yes, we do have California wine, which I personally think they're very good. And,
there's nothing wrong with it.
No, very good, very good.
But and then also another 15% of French wine,
right,
which of course is the heart of wine.
Right.
But at the same time, to be able to show to you enough variety of his own company's product, what better way to marry the food with the wines of that season. Not that one other ones won't be just as good or tasty, but to be able to marry it with, I mean, it's the idea. When in Rome, do as the Romans. You know, why go to Rome? Why go to Rome if you're going to order French wine? You know, I mean, you can do it. It's just as good. But why not keep with the whole program? And I'm saying, with that amount of variety, you're bound to be able to find something that's apropos in the wine to marry with your dinner. And speaking of that, talking about special events, chef's planning a wine dinner. It's not in the final stages. Tell us what you know about it so far, so the folks can hopefully get. I know I'm looking forward to trying to attend to as well.
Right, it's tentative right now between the last week of August and the first week of September. We usually, obviously, reservation only, and we will do about 5-course, strictly Italian meal from, I picked 5 or 6 regions from Italy to do that.
Okay, so do you have any idea about like how many courses you're going to be doing?
5 courses.
5 courses, and you're going to marry them with 5 wines?
Marry with 5 wines from Italy, yes.
And you say you're shooting hopefully for either the end of August or the beginning of September.
Correct.
And probably on a weekend night, as opposed to a weeknight, or what
well,
do you think?
Before we did on a weekday, just because you know the weekend our customers
so busy, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
But this time I think we were going to do it on a Saturday.
On a Saturday. I mean, I agree with you. It's hard to do something like that on the night that you're busy, because you might have a customer, you know, who you turn away because of that, and if you're that busy. But at the same time, it is also nice to do it on a weekend night when people really can look forward to it. So again, watch right now. There's 2 places. You can call the restaurant, or you can also check. Did you give the website name, address?
It's www.mrjohn.restaurant.com.
Okay, it's Mr. John, M-R-J-O-H-N, not apostrophe S, huh? Mr.
It's
John's,
apostrophe S, I believe, yes.
Mr. John's, M-R-J-O-H-N apostrophe S. Is it restaurant or Ristorante?
Restaurant right now. We're in the process of changing to Ristorante.
So right now it's in English because it was formerly the Steakhouse. So it's Mr. John's Restaurant, M-R-J-O-H-N apostrophe S, RESTAURANT.com. Okay. Go there in the next day or so. Hopefully they're going to get it posted for you. Give them a little time. That way you can check on availability. He hopefully will even post as soon as he gets the menu made,
right,
we'll put what the different courses are, and hopefully the married wine. So you really will have a great opportunity. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Now, folks, one other question before we go back to anything else. I want to, of course, thank Chef Brighton, upcoming Chef Christian Rossett of Mr. John's Restaurant. Anything else you want to tell the folks?
One more thing I would like to say is the August 29, which everybody knows the anniversary of Katrina. What we do, we will have free hors d'oeuvre for our guests coming in, and a good discount on drinks, and we have a lot of reservation. Celebrating, I think, the comeback of such a great city.
It was very, very nice.
So I think it's very
there's
nice.
all kind of ways. There's a nice, to me, a good traditional way, not flamboyant, but something to show to the city that he's there helping with the rebuilding. And no better way than enjoy with fine food and fine drink. So there's another chance, August 29th. Get in early, because as he said, they are booking up on that particular night, since that's very important. Okay, last, as I mentioned, I want to tell you real quickly about, as we said, our new and improved website. We lost our webmaster during the storm, and that's one of those situations. We've got a great new webmaster. She's doing wonders. The young lady is really talented. It's going to not only encompass this show, but also our sister show about about films, Real Revue. It's going to have a lot of things. As I mentioned, the key thing that is going to be, that's very important to you all, is that you will be able to see the previous week's show on live. So you can go on there. It won't be, not live, excuse me, but you'll see it on a tape delayed basis. One week you'll select, if you want to see who was on last week. If you happen to be out and missed all the normal showings, you can go see who was on the previous week. More importantly, you can go and see it anywhere you are. So a lot of our friends, I have friends all over who, when I used to be on radio, say we can never see you, of course, because you're only in New Orleans. So now they'll have that opportunity. Internet TV is really much more of a mainstay today than ever before, and it will continue to grow. So we're going to tell you right now, if you want to, you'll get on the website. It's very preliminary. It doesn't look like it's supposed to, and you can't do anything yet. Give it a little time. So we're not going to give the website out today, but we will give it out at next time. time and let you know when these type of options will be available. And you can even go back and select an archive, like if you missed one earlier this year or some of our old ones all the way back to the origin, you'll be able to go back. And some of those shows, some of those restaurants won't even be here anymore. So what a prized possession that is. You can see with some of our restaurants that we lost. Okay, again, we really appreciate you watching us. Privileged to have the great guest today, and come back and see us. We're going to go ahead and let the musician take us out, and until next time, I'm Bob Bockelman. We'll see you in Restaurant Review.
This song is called If. It's a new song that I wrote just a couple weeks ago, so I hope everyone enjoys it. Since you've been gone, and I miss you, and I wish you were here with me. If I had a car and if you were nowhere around, I'd drive across this whole wide world until your face I found. And if I had a big fast plane, I'd fly it up so very high. I'd light up every single star just to see your brown eyes shine. And it's been a long, long time, too long since you've been gone. And I miss you, and I wish you were here with me. It's been a long, long time, too long since you've been gone. And I miss you, and I wish you were here with me. It's been a long, long time, too long since you've been gone. And I miss you, and I wish you were here with me. Well, I don't have a bottom, and I don't live.
Thank you. Merci, merci.
New Orleans would like to say.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, America.
We love you.
We don't just say thanks. We play it.
And now we'd like to say thank you in person.
Come on down, America.
Come for the history.
Come for the music. Come for the food.
Come for the art. Lots of art.
Come for the fun.
Come feel good.
come for the people. Come for beignets.
Come for the sweet sounds of jazz.
Come for it all.
We rolling, y'all.
Come fall in love with New Orleans all over again.
Come on, what you waiting for?
Pilot or the bully? What does this really mean? Initially, the phrase was directed at the Jim Crow ruling class, their political reign, institution, and life in general. In particular, those located in the southern region of the United States. The late great Malcolm